Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy March. Already almost a week into March, I guess. It's kind of crazy. But thanks so much for joining us here. Tell you what, I contemplated when, I was choosing my wardrobe this morning, thought about wearing my Caitlin Clark shirt because I learned over the weekend, if you wear a Caitlin Clark shirt in public, it is a conversation starter. On the day of the game, obviously had my shirt on, and then we went out for a walk, and I had 4 people stop me and say, like, "Go Hawks," and one person was driving. It was like a drive-by. They put down the window, "Go Iowa." Then I was at Hy-Vee, and I had, again, multiple people stop me and start talking to me about Iowa basketball. It was hilarious. I was like, okay, apparently this is the like great unifier among us. Like, it was just killing me. I was like, I had no idea that this would invite so much conversation today. So I was like, oh man, maybe I should do that for Windows and get all the people talking basketball here right away this morning. But or yeah, a tip if you're going out in public and you want to garner some attention, have some good conversation, welcome some high fives and all that. There's your tip. um, Awesome. Well, again, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Paige Price. I'm the program manager at the Waterloo Community Foundation, and so I get to be your host for our monthly Windows on Waterloo presentations. And today we're so excited to welcome representatives from 3 different organizations who are serving immigrant and refugee populations here in Waterloo. So we have Karen from World Grace Project, Joanna from RIYO, and Nick from LSI, who are all joining us. And when we wanted to hold or host a Windows on Waterloo presentation about this topic, we knew it was really important to have a few different organizations contributing to the conversation. Because in our community, we have a lot of immigration from a lot of different places with different cultures and needs and age groups, and even the processes that these folks are working through, like government wise to settle here. There's just a lot of different perspectives, and therefore, as we receive these populations well, we know it's important that we have these different organizations that are serving in different ways and meeting the needs that are here in our community. And so we know that World Grace Project, RIYO, and LSI are not the only organizations that are serving well. I mean, we also have the River Arc, we have the Family Literacy Program, and a lot of our other service providers are also working with these populations. So we know that too, and that there are a lot of people that are doing really good work and really coming alongside people to help welcome them here to Iowa and to Waterloo. But we're really excited to hear a few different perspectives on what these organizations are seeing, what kinds of needs and barriers are out there, and also what kind of opportunities exist here in our community. And so each organization will take some time at the top here to share about their services, what kinds of things they provide, what they're seeing in the community through their work. And then at the end, after each has presented, we hope to have some time for some question and answer as well. So if you have any questions come up either about the topic in general or of specific programming, that kind of thing, feel free to put those into the chat box and we'll save those for the end. But with that, I think I will go ahead. I'll turn things over to Karen Everling from World Grace Project to tell us more about what they are up to. Thanks for being here, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's so good to see everybody. As she said, I'm Karen Everling. I'm the Executive Director of World Grace Project. We are located inside the Waterloo First United Methodist Church in Church Row. And we have been doing work officially really since 2020 in the Cedar Valley. And I think I love what Paige said about how there are many organizations doing good work, and I have witnessed that. And there are many good individuals from the communities also doing work for their communities. And part of our mission, what we work to do, is empower those leaders to resource and integrate their communities. So a lot of these people are already doing good work. So we thought, how can we come behind them? How can we help them connect to the greater community more efficiently and make their work easier? So that's sort of where World Grace Project came in. And we came in looking at workforce opportunities. And the funny thing about workforce is if we talk about workforce opportunities, but we don't talk about all the barriers, we're really not doing anyone any favors. So it seems like we're doing a lot because we're talking about transportation and language barriers and childcare and all of those things. But the reality is we feel like we're more of like a catalyst to make things go further. We use the resources that are here and we try to build upon those so that we're not necessarily replicating. For instance of that would be, oh, and I want to come back and say one more thing about this community too, just so we can get our minds. We work primarily with secondary resettlement, meaning people who are resettling from maybe a primary resettlement location. So when Nick gets to talk about the LSI services, our primary resettlement, we have some primary resettlement, but it's based on humanitarian parole and different statuses of people coming here. So what's unique about Waterloo is we have many levels and layers of people who are here. So some people move here, they've already lived in the US for 2 years. Some people move here and they've only lived in the US for 2 days. And those communities continue to need help for multiple years. So what you see is like all of our organizations all work with the various different communities, which I think is really neat. So last year we welcomed 200 families, clients through our processes that we do. We sit down, we have walk-in services, but we also schedule clients appointments, and we sit down and we help with foods, access, SNAP, Medicaid. A lot of the humanitarian parole individuals need help getting direction for work permits because they have to apply for that before they're able to get a job. So we're doing a lot of wayfinding related to paperwork and those heavy barriers that come with that. So language is the number one when we look back at what we did last year. Language is the number one issue that we face. And so we are currently holding, in partnership with the State of Iowa Bureau of Refugee Services, we have an English class that we hold, and we do a culture integration class as well. Recently, last month, we added 31 people to those classes. So we have a lot of people coming, and we are going to open up 2 more sections of classes. The church has been very gracious to all the people coming in because it's a lot of traffic. And so we host classes Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11 in the morning, and then also on the evenings of Monday and Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. And those classes are taught by community members. So we find very talented individuals who were teachers back in their home countries, and they want to use their talents here, and we're able to have that opportunity for them. We're able to pay them, and they can then teach in their language. Some of them speak 5 languages. So one of our new teachers, he speaks Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Lingala. So he can teach or explain grammar in those languages, which is very helpful. And we feel a lot of the students connect really well when they can work with someone from their culture. And that maybe removes a barrier of like being scared of formal education or being scared to speak up in class. And so if they can get through some of our classes, we see that they go over to Hawkeye without as much fear, I guess you could say. So those are the main classes that we're holding. And then we just are open for people to come in. And we do get a lot of calls. We have 2 people on staff who are from the Haitian community. The Haitian community is the primary, I guess you could say the primary community that we're working with right now. They have the most needs, coming on humanitarian parole. They don't get all the resources that a refugee would get. And so they're looking to link up with families that are already here. And that's probably the best way for them to get the resources they need. And so we then are sort of supporting those families ourselves. We recently acquired a transition home that we didn't know we'd be using. It has 3 units. It's located really just like a few blocks from the church in Church Row area. And it allows us to put some people in that don't have any deposit or security for a place. We help them get their work permit, and then we help them secure a job, and then they transition out of the house. During that time, we're able to teach them things about home ownership, including this is a fuse box. This is what a fuse box does. This is a gas stove. This is a regular range, stuff like that. So it gives us a training ground to show them how to care for a home. And then that in turn helps us help them secure a rental after that. So that was the Rentals of Iowa. Molly and Bon Szymanski, who are from Orchard Hill Church, were very gracious to purchase that for us. So we have dedicated that to, and we primarily have the Haitian group living there who are, in my opinion, like in the biggest need just because they don't have a way to get work immediately. So I think that's very quick. I don't want to take all the time, but that is the main things we're doing right now, besides seeing just a lot of people come in and then working and partnering with the schools the best we can, trying to help them with communication, getting students registered, getting kids vaccinated and stuff like that. That's a lot of what we do. And I think you'll find a lot of the other providers are doing very similar things to different communities.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the nature of the kind of work that you do, it's like filling whatever gap, and that's different for every family, every client that's coming through your door too, right? There's some commonality, but there's a lot of very specific things. So it's like, oh, I guess we do that now because that's what needs to be done. No, that's great. Thanks so much for sharing that, Karen, and we look forward to hearing more as we have some questions come in as well.
Yep.
Next, let's have Joanna. Would you share a little bit about RIYO and what you guys are providing here in Waterloo?
Yeah, would love to. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Lund. A little bit about me. I was a refugee coming to United States when I was 10 years old. So I was part of the ELL program students that batch, and then my family resettled to Iowa as a secondary resettlement, and we live here since. I think it's been about almost 13 to 15 years. I don't remember, but we love it here. So thank you for having me. And yeah, so a little bit about RIYO. RIYO is founded and led by refugee and immigrant youth. And RIYO leaderships includes former ELLs, teachers and dedicated ELL teachers and students. So I was part of the founding members, and RIYO is founded in 2023 and continue to expand upon youth programming formerly led by a nonprofit called Embark. So we kind of shifted to like Embark to RIYO in 2023 and just mainly focusing on youth programming. And we do have direct services once a week, every Friday. It's an open clinic for our community members to come in and get direct services, one-time help with call to like the hospital, call to the landlord, or reading their bills and such like that. But mainly our program is
airplane mode is now on.
Focusing on youth programming. We serve all ages of students, so 4 to like 18 until they graduate high school. But it's in various programs. So 4 to like 11 is for kids club, and the ages to 12 to 14 is varies in like after school programming, youth navigator programming, and coaching programming. So we have 4 main programs. and I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. And some of the program participants are from various different countries. So we have some from Burma, we have some from Democratic Republic of Congo, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haitians, and Congo, and all of that. So we have really diverse participant in our program. RIYO mission is to be a bridge for youth, refugee and immigrant youth, to get education opportunities and resources, to find confidence and belief in achieving their dreams. I know a lot of young people are the support system for their family when they move to a new country, just because they go to school, they learn the languages faster than the parents. So we see that a lot of the barriers that, or a lot of the barriers that the kids are carrying are to support their own family. So we have this program to kind of support them in any way that they can, to build their confidence and to also think about themselves and their own futures.
Awesome. Joanna, could you share a little bit more about your programming at this point too, about what Kids Club entails and Youth Navigators, and kind of the what that programming looks like and the goals for those as well?
Also barriers for students to go to places and all of that. So peer-to-peer is really important, and making sure that we meet the students where they are at is part of our RIYO model, and making sure that it's hands-on learning and fun for the students is really important. So yeah, and during our academic year, our program, our youth leadership program, I don't know if I'm frozen or.
You are good right now.
Okay.
You were frozen a touch before, and so, but you're good now.
Okay. I think it's lagging a little bit. But yeah, Youth Navigator program is one of our program. It is a leadership program. It is a 7-month-long leadership program for 10 ELL high school students from diverse background who want to help their community, who want to be the leader in the community. So these students complete about 100 like leadership training, and then they're actually helping like more than 50 younger students in the school. So that means like they are volunteer to help with like our Bangor middle after school. They will be participating, they will be leading the kids club in the summer. So those are some like services that services that they will provide for our students. And then this program is from diverse backgrounds. So we have some students from Congo, Burma, Haitians, and what's the other one? Yeah, so and Marshallese community. So we have really diverse youth programming, even though it's only 10 leadership position. I think we needed this program because students from to give a chance for diverse background students to get into leadership position. Like I said, they are our futures. So having them lead, gaining the opportunity to resource from the community is really important, and seeing from other like organization like workers projects and all of that is really important for them to be aware of, and to build a confidence becoming a leader in the whole community and sense of belonging. So when I was in high school, it was really hard to stay in school, just because language barrier was a huge thing in the community. and Karenni is a dialect. It's really hard to find interpreter for. So as a students and as a kids at home, like I would support my family by like going to like appointments to interpret for my parents. So that means like I miss a lot of school, and a lot of this like we see that it also happened to like these students. So creating this program give them space, give them like an opportunity to connect with others. And then our another academic program that we have right now going on right now is after school program, and that is focusing on building connections with their peers. And we really have like a diverse participants. We have about 46, I think, enrolled this year in high school alone, and then we have about 25 enrolled in middle school. So as we can see, like the number of enrollment, that is a really need in the school and in our community for our students of refugee and immigrants. And yeah, it's really just a time and space for them to learn about different community resources. It's really about them building connections with their peers so they can see like familiar faces, learn about different culture from each of their peers. So those are really built upon the connections that the school, we want them to build connections in that program. And yeah, and then our other program that we have right now is coaching program. So coaching program is focusing on one-on-one level of students. So it's reserved for senior in high school, just to give them one-on-one supports with self-explorations, career exploration, whatever the students want to focusing on with their coach. So we have 3 trained coach right now that will work with seniors and find out like what they want after high school or what they want to work on academically for the remaining of the high school. So they at least have someone to talk to and someone to kind of guide them on like on what they want to do like after high school. Most of the time in that program, this program is really important because most of the time the students are not confident in themselves or the ability to go to college or find better careers. So having that person to talk to last year, it was a really great impact on the students. Some students who never thought like they couldn't go to college because they don't know how to apply or the financial aspect of it. When having that coach, they were able to complete their high school courses. They were able to graduate high school, and a couple of them go to Haka, a couple of them went up to Yanai, a couple of them was in like thinking about like the job corps training options. So just giving that option to students that are in higher needs or need more focus or support on that is really important why we have this program. And then in the summer, we have the Kids Club program. Last year, we were able to enroll 45 students from K to 5th grade right away. So I think we posted about like 2 days, and then we were filled like after 2 days of posting the flyers. So it just shows that it's a great needs in our community to build literacy skills for refugee and immigrant students, and parents want their kids to be engaged and to build their social skills during summer break and summer gap, and to kind of build their English skills so that when they go back to school in August, they feel confident. And one of the parents even shared that their kids was really like was really excited to go back to school, like for the first time last year. So that was pretty excited, and we were really proud of that feedback as well. And it just goes to show that students make friends in the program, and they know that their friends are going to the same school. So they were pretty hyped and ready to go back to school by August. So, but this year we extended the applicants to be 50 instead of 45, so increase of 5. And we were working with our literacy department's professor at UNI, our partners, to kind of come up with a curriculum, and hoping to enroll students by June. And so, yeah, those are all about our programming. Let's see, what else did I
What
forget?
schools are you partnered with for your after-school programming, Joanna? Because you expanded into middle school. Was that just this year, or can you talk a little bit about what schools you're working with?
Yeah, definitely. So last year we only did high school. So we partnered with West High. We worked closely with the ELL West High counselor who referred the students to us. And this year we kind of expand our after school programming from West High and Bangor Middle School. That's where the ELL programs are at. So those two schools, this year we have a lot of enrollments in both schools that we were planning, but like not really like sure like if we're gonna get that much students, but like yeah. So this year we have West High and then Bangor Middle School, because those schools have the ELO programming, right?
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. You guys are doing incredible work and have just grown like crazy over the last couple of years here since you established as RIYO. And I apologize too if I interrupted you earlier because you were frozen on my end. I don't know if you were frozen on anyone else. So then I started talking, but I apologize if I was talking over you at some point.
I didn't know, so thank you.
Awesome. Well, next, let's pass it over to Nick from LSI to share about the work that they will be doing in Waterloo.
Great, thanks, Paige. Yeah, excited to follow Karen and Joanna, and I just say, yeah, LSI as an organization is excited to kind of be rejoining the network of partners in Waterloo and the broader Cedar Valley who are helping welcome immigrants and refugees to the community. We know that this has been sort of a part of the community for many years, and so excited that yeah, LSI is able to contribute. So I'll share a little bit about kind of what we are doing and kind of our plans. Those of you or many of you probably know LSI already offers many services in the Waterloo community. We offer early childhood programming, clinical services, which includes therapy and behavioral health services, and then some respite services. But we are kind of reintroducing or expanding our immigrant refugee community services back to the Waterloo community. And so LSI many years ago used to do that, and due to sort of shifts in funding from the federal government and population trends, those services ended in 2010, which was shortly after I started at LSI. So LSI was offering kind of initial refugee resettlement services for many decades, and was a part of helping welcome many of the Bosnian and Sudanese populations there in the community. So we're excited to be back and again be a part of the community's efforts. So kind of why, I guess maybe I'll answer the question, like why are we coming back, and why are we kind of re-expanding services there? There is a need globally and domestically for more refugee resettlement services. So refugee resettlement is one of many pathways for individuals to come to the United States and come to our local communities. And so these are individuals who have left their home countries. They have been persecuted or fear that they would be persecuted if they stayed, and can't depend upon their own government to protect them. And so they're fleeing across the border, to a neighboring country where they're seeking initial safety and refuge there. And for many people, that's where they wait for years, sometimes decades, hoping to be able to go back home, to return to their land and schools and businesses. But for some, just due to conflict and what's happening in the country, that's not a possibility. So, the UN is the international agency that's really looking at and caring for displaced populations around the globe. And so they're looking at, their priorities are: one, can people go back home? Because that's where they ultimately want to go. If they can't go back home, are there ways for them to stay and pursue paths towards citizenship and integration into that next country where they have fled? And then if that's not a possibility, kind of the third and final option is resettlement to another country. So the US is one of many nations around the globe that offers refugee resettlement services. And it's all coordinated through the Department of State, who then works through a network of nonprofit organizations across the country. And so the president each year sets a determination on the level of and the number of refugees that are admitted to the United States. The US has historically resettled around 100,000 people per year through the refugee resettlement program. And for the most part, it's been a very bipartisan supported program. Actually, it was under Ronald Reagan's presidency, where the U.S. was resettling around 200,000 individuals per year. So it's kind of ebbed and flowed. Under the prior administration, there was a significant decrease in the numbers of refugees who were admitted. And so because of that reduction, there was actually a closure of about a third of the offices around the country who were offering those services. So the U.S. went from 300 offices down to 200 offices. And so with the current administration, the Biden administration, they've kind of committed to reestablishing the US's kind of historic level of arrivals. And just with displacement we're seeing from Ukraine and Afghanistan and other parts of the globe, there's a need for people to go to and to be invited here to the US. So LSI is kind of responding to the call to be able to provide additional services for those individuals, help welcome them to communities. So over the past couple of years, we've been working to expand those services in Des Moines and in Sioux City, and now in Waterloo. Again, just sort of knowing the history there and talking to local stakeholders who've been really excited about being able to provide services again. So we went through a process in late 2022, early 2023, where we met with a lot of different community stakeholders. Karen and Joanna were some of them, but also schools, community colleges, local elected officials, employers, healthcare providers, really to sort of assess the capacity and the willingness to help do this. Because as Karen mentioned, there's already existing systems in community, and really our role is to help connect people and help them navigate those systems and become a part of the local community. And we were just, I think just so thankful for the warm welcome and reception and the excitement, and the number of people who just said, yes, like this is what we do. We are a diverse, welcoming community. We are excited to do this again. And so we've just been so grateful for the people who've come alongside us and just been really excited about it. So just wanted to share that. So we're in the process still of kind of getting started, if you will. So we've hired a few local leadership staff in Waterloo. I think Erin Good is on the call today. So I might pause. Erin, do you want to just introduce yourself quickly?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Hi, I'm Erin Good. I'm the service manager here in Waterloo. And like Nick said, we are so overwhelmed by the warm embrace that we've gotten from community members and people reaching out to kind of offer support and helping us, guide through this process. It's been great.
So Erin is, and Brittany is our other kind of leader in the Waterloo office, are working to hire additional staff to be able to provide services. Our primary services will be refugee resettlement services, which include kind of initial reception, so helping to find housing and furnishing housing when people are arriving, and greeting them at the airport, and helping them get oriented to the new community, learning how to navigate the bus system and doing school registration and a lot of the things that Karen mentioned that her organization is doing with the Haitian population. one of our core goals is helping people find employment. So the US kind of model is to help people become self-sufficient through employment as quickly as possible. So we will be working with employers as well to help place employable adults into appropriate opportunities that exist in the community. And we're expecting to receive about 150 people, so not families, but 150 people over the next year. So we continue to get requests, to try and resettle more, but felt like just based on our conversations with the community over the last couple of years that felt like a good place to be and a good place to start and see how that goes over the next year. We do expect that a number of arrivals are coming and will be placed sort of in Waterloo because of family ties. They may have family ties there. So in terms of the populations we will be seeing, we expect them to some degree to reflect the population that's already in Waterloo that have come through the refugee process. So expecting that there will be populations originally from Burma or Myanmar, so the Karen, potentially other minority groups from Burma that would be joining family that are already in the community. I know that the Congolese community has mostly come through a diversity visa lottery, but I think there's also the potential for family members maybe who are refugees or have been displaced to be resettled. So we don't know yet kind of exactly what that's going to look like, but anticipating that a lot of our arrivals would be from those two communities. We will also be resettling families that don't have any U.S. ties, so people that are sort of unattached and don't already have family. And so that will really be determined based on, kind of what our staffing looks like, what languages we have on staff, what communities and languages exist in the community. But some of the higher priority populations or larger populations the U.S. is trying to resettle over the next several years are from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Syria. There has been a lot more processing of individuals from Central American countries, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala. So expecting to see more Spanish-speaking populations arriving, and then potentially more Sudanese, South Sudanese, Congolese, or I said Congolese, and then Somalis. So those would be some of the populations we're expecting, but we'll know a little bit more probably in a couple of months. So right now we're just working on kind of staffing, and once we have kind of a team of case managers and individuals that will work around employment, we'll be kind of preparing more to actually start reviewing cases and be able to accept them to the Waterloo office. There's a few other services that we will be offering that are more open to individuals that are in the community. In our Des Moines office, we offer a lot of kind of extended programming and integration programming for people that have been here and are really, looking to get connected to new opportunities or have come in through other pathways. And in the Waterloo location, we're kind of just starting with what we've heard has been a need. And so, our childcare business development program is a program we're expanding to Waterloo. It's something we've kind of been talking to stakeholders about for a number of years, but it's a program that helps women start home-based childcare businesses and go through the process of becoming licensed and registered through the state of Iowa. So we partner with CCR&R, a childcare resource and referral, who does the training and for childcare providers, and we provide the kind of interpretation and the cultural navigation of that process with Department of Health and Human Services. So over the last 10 years in Des Moines, we've helped train 200 women to kind of start and launch home-based childcare businesses. And so we'll be working to start that in Waterloo. We've just hired a team member that's joining us this week. And we'll be working to kind of help 15 to 20 women in kind of the first year do that same process in the Waterloo community. So we're really excited about that. We will also have some capacity to provide some extended case management services, in conversations with Karen, just about the populations that are seen. Because we are a federal refugee resettlement partner, we do have access to some funding for some unique humanitarian parolee populations that have come in. So we will have a role that will be doing some outreach to and able to provide some limited case management to the Haitian population, but also the Ukrainian population. The Ukrainian population has not come through organizations. They've come more through private sponsors. And so kind of part of it is just finding out where people have landed and where sponsors are located, and if those individuals are needing any additional support, connecting to resources that are available to them. So that'll probably be a larger, like, regional outreach effort, not just Waterloo, but looking within kind of a 100-mile radius of the office. And then our team in Waterloo will also be providing some support for unaccompanied children who are mostly coming from Central American countries. You know, they're coming to the U.S. because they have family members here, but they're not with a guardian, and so they're actually in the care of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and then released to sponsors that they have here in the state. And so LSI provides services to help ensure that there's sort of a safe release process in place, that the sponsor is sort of vetted and checked, and will be providing fingerprinting at the Waterloo office, and assist sponsors in identifying local resources that will help them as they're kind of welcoming a child to their home, and helping them get connected to legal services and healthcare services and other things that they may need. So that's kind of where we are starting. You know, excited about that. We're at this point kind of projecting, based on where we are with hiring, that we may see our first arrivals in May. It could get pushed later, just based on kind of where we are with hiring. We want to make sure we have a full team and a trained team before we get started, but that's kind of what we're expecting. And then I just wanted to note, you know, this is really a community effort. And so there are lots of ways for people to get involved, whether it's through volunteerism, you know, helping to set up apartments or teach people how to use the bus. We'll also be working with employers, landlords, and then looking for individuals that might like to contribute in kind or financial donations that will help us in supporting new families. So I'll drop a link kind of to our Cedar Valley sort of landing page and website, and would invite you to check out more there, and invite you to connect with Aaron as well, just if you're interested in getting involved in some way. We have moved to a new office location as well. If you knew where LSI was located previously on South Street, we are now at 3640 University Avenue in Waterloo. So Aaron always says it's across from the U-Haul. If you all know where the U-Haul is on University, that's kind of the general area. But anyway, we're excited and happy to kind of answer questions or elaborate more if people would like.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing, Nick. I wasn't aware of your childcare training component of what you do. That's really interesting. And look forward to, learning more about that as you guys start that process too. I think that's what's I appreciate you sharing about what's anticipated. I know it's hard to share too much for you and Aaron when it's like, well, we haven't started this in Waterloo yet, this round anyways, but are really excited to have this expansion into our community, and appreciate the work that you guys are doing to make that a success too, and making sure the right people and the right trainings and all of the right pieces are in place to set our newcomers up for success too. And so we're really grateful to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Now, if anybody has any questions, whether it's more broadly about newcomers to our community, or if it's specifically like, I want to know more about this part of World Grace Project's programming, anything like that, feel free to drop those into the chat. Or if you want to unmute and say it out loud, then that's great too. Sometimes things are easier to explain out loud than to try to type something. So we welcome any questions. I'm sure any of our presenters would be happy to mention or to respond to any of those. But just kind of to start off with a little bit of follow-up here. Karen, I'm going to start directing this at you, and if anybody else has anything to contribute as well. But first, can you talk a little bit more about kind of the secondary resettlement and why we see that? Like, is it jobs? Is it family? Like, can you elaborate a little bit on what that looks like and what would be bringing someone that way?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, there's primary resettlement areas across the United States, like what's coming here. And what happens is it might depend a lot on jobs. So people will try out a job, see how it goes. Then they will hear from a family member, hey, you should come this way. So as communities start to form, or what we kind of have seen is they start to get really roots here, we start to see that they ask their family members to come and they will move across. So oftentimes they'll try 2 or 3 jobs before they find a place where they really want to resettle. And again, they're just coming here brand new. So I feel like it's just a matter of experiencing and trying it out. And so we just see sometimes, like I said, they've been in the US for 2 years. Sometimes they've only been in the US for 6 months. They get so much time, and I don't, maybe Nick can explain a little bit. They only get so much time with that primary resettlement agency before they're kind of off on their own. So at that point, they're looking for other supports generally, which is why it's been really great. I'm already talking to Aaron a ton. I'm super excited to have someone else to work with because we're already doing some stuff with collecting goods, and we have a store and we have a space where we're storing all that, but we're already talking about, okay, so how can we expand this? Because now we're going to need big items so we can work together. So it's really great to have a primary resettlement site here for sure.
Absolutely. We had a
Yeah, I would
question
just add
come
too.
in. Oh, yeah, please go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to add, yeah, I mean, really, at least for those that come through the refugee resettlement process, they are really sort of free to move about the country as they wish. Once they arrive, they're resettled to a location, and it's that location that is provided some initial funding to help support their living costs, living expenses. Can provide services in terms of connecting to healthcare, employment, etc. So sometimes we do have people that choose to leave, out migrate. They try to catch again any family ties, familial ties prior to arrival, so people can be placed where they want to be and where they know they have some of those supports already. But people are free to move, and so after time, people may find or hear of other opportunities. And so I would say, Iowa in general, because of work opportunities, has tended to be a place where a lot of refugees have chosen to move after the fact, because they've found that it's very expensive to live on the coasts, and there's resettlement agencies in major cities, and so again, cost of living, I think, is a big factor. Quality of life, all the reasons we love living in Iowa, right, are same reasons why other people are moving here. I will say there's also definitely active recruitment that happens by employers. I know Tyson is an employer located in Waterloo, but also has plants around the state, has actively recruited from refugee and other immigrant populations, really to help address workforce needs. And so that's another reason I think we see a lot of people coming to the state. And then, I guess also just to note kind of what Karen was mentioning, those that don't necessarily come through the refugee resettlement process, they may be admitted as humanitarian parolees. And so there are different supports and systems, and aren't as many really support systems in place for those populations. The Ukrainians that I mentioned came through private sponsors, who were offering those sort of services individually. So we're seeing like more rural settlement of those populations. But then we have other populations that are coming, and the US might be their first place where they're seeking asylum or safety. And so, they're here trying to justify that they're fleeing persecution in their home country, but don't yet have that legal status. And so they're really, without a lot of sort of formal resources in that period. So there's just so many different ways people are coming, and such a variety of support. So I do appreciate the note about why it takes a variety of community partners and resources to make the community welcoming to help people be successful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I personally, my family and I, like we have that experience. So when we first resettled in the U.S., we were resettled in Chicago, Illinois. So coming from like a refugee camp to like Chicago is big city, not language barriers, not only the problem, but transportation, the school. They don't have all these program organizations. So Waterloo is a great place for people to resettle from connections with their friends. So my dad actually got recruited to come find a job here because he couldn't get to work on time because like he doesn't know like when the train schedule or like that, because he'll speak or write in English. So that was one problem that he ran into, and then he doesn't speak English. So it's just really hard to find job in bigger city. So when he got recruited, he actually moved here first to see like how things are going, like the living and like the job here. And then once he think that it's stable, then he bring all of us from Chicago. He moved all of us from Chicago to Waterloo, and we've been here since. And he still work at the same place that he's been for like the last 13 years. So yeah, Waterloo is a great place for a resettlement program, and it really gave homes to like refugees, like me and my family and immigrants population. So
That's great. Thank you all for sharing. Another question that came in is for any or all of you, what assistance do you currently need from the community? That is, how can individuals and community organizations help you? We want to be supportive, and we want to help you welcome new people to our community. So what are the best things that we as a community can do to support you guys?
Karen, I saw you put some stuff in the chat. You want to
Yeah.
go first, and then Joanna, and then we can go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we have a couple spaces where people can come alongside and work with us, and our classes is one of them. It's very hectic. Our teachers could use some teaching assistance, just helping with papers, pencils, attendance, that sort of thing. Transportation is a huge issue for our classes right now. I've been just throwing up a prayer saying, I think someone out there has a van for us. I don't know who it is, but we're looking for, we have drivers, and we have drivers from the community that we can employ. We're just short on vehicles, and we are working with the state on a vehicle as well. But right now it takes us 5 trips to get everybody to class. And so we'd like to continue to offer those opportunities. And it's so critical when they're first arriving to have a place to land. While I know we could turn them away and put them online, just seeing them light up when they come in and they can connect with their community, I just don't want to take that away from them. So those are some of the ways you can connect with us. And I put my email in the chat if you want to message me.
definitely those are really great, like donations that you talked about, Karen's, and like the goods. I know we have a lot of younger students in our program, so when they talk about like applying for a job and all of that, we need like a mentorship that gonna work with the students alongside. We need 101 basics for students that are newly coming into like the school that need more support. So uh, that could help like students along the way. I know like when I first started learning English, it was really hard and really frustrated to pronounce words. So 101 like really helps me build that English skill. So having mentorships for our program, I think that's something that we're looking for our students. And volunteering and donations, like Karen mentioned, are like highly needed for our programs.
Yeah, and then I would just add, yeah, for LSI, again, I think just with where we're at right now, we are beginning to do some outreach around in-kind donations for household items. So, the more that we can kind of get donated from the community, it allows us to sort of stretch some of the financial resources we have available to help people pay rent and utilities and other things, to give them a little bit more of a runway until they need to be in the workforce and paying their own expenses. So we try to get as much as possible donated, that would really complete a household. People are really just coming with suitcases. So on the website I shared in the chat, kind of down towards the bottom, there's sort of a ways to get involved, and there is sort of a list of kind of different welcome kits and welcome boxes that we sort of organize and put together. And our local contact there, Mike Knipp, is kind of beginning to field some requests for that. And yeah, excited to work with Karen too to figure out like, is there a way we can kind of organize and source some of this stuff together, because it's a big job. And then eventually we too will be looking for volunteers to get involved. We're working to hire kind of a volunteer coordinator in the office, but would love to have people to, again, come alongside families and helping teach, how to navigate the community, helping support language learning, learning about working in the U.S. Also, if you're like a behind the scenes person and you want to help sort donations or other things like that, I think there's a variety of ways that people can get involved. But probably more to come from us on that once we have a coordinator for volunteers in place.
Absolutely. And we'll include the links to all of the information about these opportunities in our follow-up email with the recording of the presentation as well. So if anybody misses any of the links or anything like that, we'll send those out again as well to make sure that you can get connected. Another question that I think is super interesting, because a lot of times, I mean, nationwide, when we hear the word immigration, we think about our southern border and the things that we're seeing and hearing about that. And so somebody asked how many refugees or immigrants has Iowa received from our southern border. Do any of you have any insight on that? Are we seeing the impacts of that crisis here locally, or what are you guys seeing out in the community?
Yeah, I think there's, this is like, I don't know what to say. Like, just say like read the headlines carefully, and obviously be mindful of like, it's, immigration is a divisive topic. It's very divisive politically. At the end of the day, we're all here because we care about people, and we want to make sure that people have access to opportunity as human beings, as fellow human beings here. But I will say that there's a lot of things that happen at all borders. The southern border in particular. As I mentioned, there's people that are fleeing. They're fleeing persecution. They're fleeing violence in their home country, and so just because they're coming to the U.S. first, there's nothing wrong with that. We have asylum laws and laws in place to help protect people from persecution and human rights things, and so that there is a process that people go through to claim asylum. If they're not granted asylum, then they may be returned to their home country. So we do see asylees, asylum seekers that come as well, and where they're sort of first place where they're seeking safety. We also, as I mentioned, do work with a number of minors. Many of them, some very young, some teenagers who again have family members, relations in the U.S., but are seeking better opportunities from what's there in their home community. And so there is a process the U.S. government has for caring for those minors and providing them due process to be able to establish legal standing here in the U.S. It's hard to sort of put a number on it. I don't really know, like how many people who've come from the southern border here to the U.S. But I will tell you, like in our Sioux City office, like we had a family from Afghanistan. Again, following the evacuation, made their way. They weren't able to get on a plane out of the country, right? And so they came to Mexico and then crossed the border, and have been in that same boat trying to seek asylum. They're not eligible for any services because they don't yet have status. So there's a variety of different populations that are trying to find opportunity, find safety here. And so, again, end of the day, our job is to help provide services. I did also want to mention there has been an increase, I think maybe I mentioned it earlier, in processing of refugees from Central American nations, really to try and help, again, for those people that have claims of persecution, they have been persecuted, they can't stay in their home country. The U.S., I don't know, has not done a great job of really prioritizing those populations. And so the only option has been to march, walk somewhere else, march north, right? And so there are more pathways, I think, being created to help vet, screen individuals from those countries that have genuine claims of persecution, so that they can come through kind of the refugee resettlement process. So I don't know if that helped answer the question. Those are kind of my thoughts on the topic.
I was just going to say yes, we have people. But the thing with humanitarian parole and some of this is, again, they move where they want to move within the United States. So even when I'm talking to the school and they're saying, hey, is there a way to tell me how many numbers? No, there's really not. So it's very hard. We're, like Nick said, we're just here to welcome them. And by us providing those services, we learn a lot more about those communities so that we are able to start answering those questions. So it's very important that we connect. It's very important that we record that data, because that's only going to help us all do better work.
And I would just add too, from like a funder perspective, if there are any funders on the call, like that, I think where we feel most challenged and constrained sometimes is that, you know, we do have some level of sort of government funding, but it is really narrow in terms of who are the eligible population. So I think we find that in communities, there are all of these other populations experiencing similar barriers, challenges. And so, you know, when funders are able to come alongside us and provide flexibility and allow us to sort of take what we're doing already for one population and be able to expand it to serve a broader immigrant population, that has really been impactful and really allowed us, again, to take more of a holistic approach to immigration within a community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for diving into that, and I appreciate you being willing to share so much today about your work and the things that you're doing to serve those who are new to our community. And I know your programming faces specific challenges and barriers that are unique from some other services in the community. And so we're really grateful for you sharing, for you being here, for the way that you are working together too. I think that's been really fun to learn about through even just this presentation too, is how you guys are working together to help serve. And so we're really grateful and appreciate all that you're doing here in Waterloo. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to everyone who has been in our audience today as well. We appreciate you participating in this conversation and hope that you will join us next month as well. So we offer Windows on Waterloo on the first Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. And next month, we will have the Waterloo School Superintendent, Dr. Jared Smith, joining us to talk about the proposed plans for the new high school. And so we look forward to hearing more details about what's being planned and what kind of the dreams are for that. And it'll be a great opportunity if you, as a community, have had questions as well. He's very open to answering those as well. So you'll see more information about that in the coming weeks. But until then, thank you so much for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your day.